question: what can you do if you feel stuck during the production stage? Maybe you feel writer's block, the common thing, right? That now and then pops up. What do you do? So one technique that I came up recently was simply using or simply looking into all the project files that I actually liked, right? From myself, project files from myself. I'm sure you have some loops, some unfinished projects, maybe even some project that you released and did really well, and maybe you didn't know or you don't remember how you exactly came up with sound design, with some small techniques that you used, right? So why not just diving back into all the project files and get inspiration from them, right? Because that was your unique way of working. So why not pulling from them inspiration, right? So that's what I did, and that's what I want to share with you in this specific video. And hopefully you can adapt and let yourself inspire by some technique. They should be inspirational trigger, what I call them, so you can let yourself inspire by them and then take it further, right? And I also would encourage you to look into your very own project files. If you take just one thing away from this week's video, I would say open up old project files from yourself and look into them and find some gold. I'm sure there is some gold in every little bit of project file, little bit of creation that you can use for later projects, right? So now let's jump in. But before, if you're new on this channel and you think what kind of creep is this with the backdrop and whatnot, I'm currently traveling a little bit and recording this from my van. So yeah, I'm not maybe I'm a creep, I don't know. But anyway, I want to give you a little gift because you landed on this video, which is my soft but snappy Rominimal Ableton Live kick template that is totally for free, right? As a gift from me to you. Just click the link below and then you get shipped it into your inbox. It's highly adjustable, yeah, kick template, so you don't need to use samples and whatnot, but come up with your very unique kick, right? You can actually synthesize it, but it's not complicated. It's easy to do with just a few dials. So if this sounds interesting to you, go and grab it. It's for free. And now let's jump over and hopefully finding some new inspiration. Let's jump in. All right, let's jump right in. So one of my favorite things to do, or one of my favorite effect channels that I came up with, is what I call it snappy dry Rominimal clap effect chain. And listen to this without. And with the chain. So it gets really crunchy, snappy, short little claps, but also it works on hi-hats as well. Here without. Right. Right. If it just makes the sound a little bit dirtier. Now let's go quickly through the different effects and whatnot. So the first thing in the chain is really a dynamic tube plugin, right? Dynamic tube. Playing with the envelope. drive. Right. So with the envelope, basically I will play with the envelope, dry wet. Drive, even drive maybe. Tone. Different types of tube, A, B and C. A works the best. And then mix it in, right? Try this one. So basically I will play around with envelope, bias, tone, drive, and then mix it in as much as you like, right? And then you get already a little bit of a dirtier sound. Right, and then the second thing is erosion, but to be honest this doesn't add too much to the sound, just gives a little bit of sparkle, I would say. Let's have a listen. Okay, well if we play with the mount a little bit we get a little bit more crunchiness. And then the next thing in the chain is simple overdrive. This is a taste thing, optional I would say, doesn't add too much. And then last but not least I have a grain delay to make it a little bit more interesting. The heads, right? And I also let them play just a tiny little bit off sync, just to give a tiny little bit of groove, right? Just 0.52%. This is another little hack, I would say, that can really spice things up a little bit. This is off. This is straight. It's very subtle, but still up to you, just giving you some inspiration. And that can also be placed on claps, right, as I mentioned before. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do on hi-hats and claps. Now let's move on to the next favorite thing. Actually, you know, let's stick to this project file. Because currently I'm experimenting and testing this little plugin here from Rominimal Labs, and I came up with this little bass line here, which I really like. Here's the bass line. Basically I was triggering it with MD Snake, sticking to lower notes range, right? Then with this plugin afterwards, this bass line is recorded, right, to audio. Next little technique that I like to do to add a little bit more variation in subtle things is basically just insert some return channels, and then for example I have different effects here, and then simply what I like to do is using basically an LFO and assigning it to the amount, right? We can also use an LFO to send a specific amount to different return channels, right? So it's kind of randomly gives some bursts here and there, right? Especially for those hi-hats, right? Without, we just sent this amount here, but with the LFO, it's random, right? We could even use different LFOs for all the different channels here, so we get even more randomness maybe. And so on, right? I hope you get the idea. So LFO to return channels amount sending, so we get random effect bursts here and there. Very simple, but I think very powerful little technique. Another little hack that I like to do to add a little bit more variation and dynamic. For example, on this clap here, it's the same like I showed you before. Not the same clap, but the same effect chain. Right? And what I like to do is using an envelope follower. Already set it up here. And then assign it to, for example, in the erosion, to amount and width. So every time we get those envelopes pumping, it also pumps up the assigned, whatever it is, right? In this case, width and amount. So I'll listen to this. Without, static kind of, right? Could even go dial that one maybe. Here's another way of doing it with the envelope follower and his, assigning it to width, so it kind of goes dynamic wider. Just little effect sound. Without it, it's kind of static. Of course, this ping pong still does its work. With it. What I like is it goes back to its normal point, right? Because it follows the envelope here. That's kind of a lazy way to use this envelope follower rather than using automation and stuff. I found this really helpful in some ways. And then another thing that I like doing is layering, right? So for example here, those are the main drums here, triggering with instant minimal. Right, and then spicing them up. Vinyl carving station. Right, so this is basically just a layer. And of course I have running same chain again as I mentioned before, right? That's one of my favorite to make things a little bit more snappy. And what is this vinyl carving thing? Okay, basically this is some cutting some holes and yeah, cutting into vinyls, actual vinyl records, right? That's what East End Dubs mentioned in one of his um, resident advisor Q&As, I guess, interview. And then you come up with some sounds like these, right? Just some random snippets here and there. Low, and so on, right? And then that's basically triggering again with the instant minimal and our favorite effect chain, and then layering it, right, with drums. Here again the same technique, right? But this is different project. As you can see, LFO to reverb amount, return channels. It's not running right now, but here I recorded them, right? Those closed heads here. Also a very cool one, I would say. Now if we play that, we get some random tonal bursts, right? Right? I miss a clap. But anyway, you get the idea. Now, how do we do that? I have different synths here, right? Percussive, haunted bell, and so on, right? And what I did was basically select all and then distribute range equally, right? And then chain selector, assigning to a macro, and then adding a LFO to that macro, so we get some random sounds, right? Jumps here to this sound, then to this sound again, the same, but it's not yeah, again, it's random, right? Jumps here, here. We can do that with all kind of sounds, even samples and whatnot, right? Again, those should just give you some inspiration triggers, what I call them, so you can experiment with them. And then there are just some uh, yeah, effects behind that, and that's basically it, right? Hope you like it, hope you resonate with that. Again, those are what I call inspirational triggers, should be inspirational triggers, and are open for further experimentation. Hopefully this should give you enough inspirational trigger, I hope, for your next few projects. Also, maybe you forgot about some techniques that you came up with. Maybe you want to share them in the comment section, or maybe open up some older projects from yourself whenever you get stuck and find some good stuff in there, right? Because sometimes we even forget what we came up. I forgot about all those little things that I added, and I actually went through all projects and reviewing them a little bit, and that's what I want to share with you. I have actually a whole list. I make a whole list, so I recommend you do the same, because whenever you get stuck, you have that list that you can pull from, right? From your old projects, because you came up with them. They are unique to your specific style and unique production style. And hope this is helpful. Hope this is inspiring. Hope to see you next week. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Bye bye.